Good morning, everybody. Now, you may have missed this yesterday, but a bill was passed in Parliament, which was the Public Order Bill 2022. It's gone through the House of Commons. It hasn't yet gone through the Lords, but it was passed by 276 votes to 231. It's not been reported anywhere I can see, apart from in some a fringe Scottish newspaper. I don't know why they reported on it and nobody else. But this has happened, and this bill is part of the infrastructure of tyranny. Tyrannical legislation, which is being put in place for the future when the government will have the power to clamp down on any kind of free expression because they don't want freedom of speech, freedom to assemble, freedom to protest, freedom to trade even, which we've seen being taken away from people in the lockdown period. While they give lip service to freedom and democracy, they're putting in place a framework of legislation to take it away. And what happened yesterday in the Commons is just absolutely part of that. Now, look, the police have all the powers that they need to deal with protests which are illegal and disruptive. You see two-tier policing. We have seen two-tier policing for the last 2 or 3 years, where they go softly on Black Lives Matter or Extinction Rebellion or Just Stop Oil or Insulate Britain or whatever other manifestation of these, lefty eco zealots call themselves. The police go very softly on them. But when you have people who are really defending our fundamental freedoms, our Constitution, our Magna Carta, our Bill of Rights, our freedom to protest, our freedom to trade, our freedom to assemble, our freedom to go and meet people in a park when those rights are being taken away from us, then the police go in all extremely heavy with absolute brutality, batons drawn, battening people over the head, arresting everybody left, right and centre. They send in the riot police to deal with peaceful protesters. But then you get a couple of eco-zealots climbing the Dartford Bridge or sitting on a road, and the police are like, oh, nothing we can do. Would you like a cup of coffee from the Starbucks? Would you like some tofu with your coffee? No, well, this is what the police do. They don't do anything for hours and hours on end. And then actually the heroes, taxi drivers and so on, and lorry drivers come along, and they're actually starting to clear the roads because the police aren't doing anything to these far left protesters that are actually disruptive to everybody's life and are trying to ruin society and stopping people from travelling in their cars, even ambulances and fire engines from getting to where they need to go to deal with emergencies. They do nothing about that. And the interesting thing is that in the few days leading up to the debate here and the vote on the Public Order Bill in the House of Commons, you suddenly get a spike in disruptive activity from the far left eco-zealots. Just Stop Oil, as they call themselves now, sitting on the A4, blocking the roads, climbing up Dartford Bridge. Now look, these two people who climbed up Dartford Bridge, they climbed at 200 feet up the structure where there's no ladders or anything. This is not something that normal people can do. You need to have special skills to do this and special training to be able to go up something which is a unique structure in the UK and very, very dangerous or impossible for a normal person to climb up. You'd have to be an expert climber, and not just that, to go up there and unfurl a banner across both sections of the carriageway, draped from one side to the other of the suspension cables, and then disrupt that road and get it blocked for 36 hours. Interesting timing that happened just before the debate. So all the MPs are going, oh, this is terrible. We need to do something to stop these people from blocking the roads and disrupting our infrastructure. Look, okay, the police, if they wanted to, they could have easily removed all the people sitting on the A4, or sitting in around Westminster where they shouldn't have been. But these people, I mean, you would need, it's not easy to get them down from the Dartford Bridge. I mean, I would say just let the traffic go on. Just, they're sitting up there, whatever. Just ignore them and let the traffic proceed. But that didn't happen. There was a big kerfuffle. They closed the roads, and there's a huge tailbacks all the way around the M25. It's interesting because I was actually flying into London on Monday afternoon. And as I flew in, I could see, actually, the tailbacks, basically 30 miles back around the M25, all the way through Essex, all the way through Hertfordshire. I mean, it must have been horrific for anybody stuck in that 20-30 mile long traffic jam for 36 hours while you're waiting for these people to come down. But you see, what this is your classic problem, reaction, solution. There's a fabricated problem, and therefore we need to do something, anything, to stop this from happening again. The solution. Let's introduce the Public Order Act, which takes away our fundamental freedoms and gives the police stop and search powers above what they already have. They've got enough stop and search powers to deal with crime in areas of high crime, but they need probable cause. What this bill does is it allows police to stop and search anyone, anywhere, even without probable cause. So, you can be walking through the park, just minding your own business, and the police could come up and stop and search you without probable cause, without even, having to say, I suspect you of committing an offence. They don't have to do that anymore, or they won't have to if this gets passed. So this is a real attack on our human rights and our fundamental freedoms. It also will give the power to make the Home Secretary to make individual orders on people to say you can't go and protest. That will have to be done through the courts, but this is a new thing. So the law should be equal, it should be fair, it should be proportionate. Everyone should have the right to protest. We've had the right to protest in this country for the last millennia, ever since we, common law was brought into this country by Alfred the Great, and and that has been allowed and to continue all through the centuries and the ages, and it's been enhanced, and our rights and our fundamental freedoms have been enhanced by laws going down through the centuries until now, until this period where they are being taken away from us again by this fake Conservative government. After Tony Blair's Labour administration, this fake Conservative government is just a continuation of Tony Blair's his plans and so on. They're all basically globalists following the plans of people who don't have the best interests of this country at heart. And the thing is, you've got to see through this. And I know there's a lot of people who are, they don't want Extinction Rebellion. I don't want them. I don't want them to be disrupting the traffic and the bridges and the road infrastructure and so on any more than anybody else. But that's it. The thing is, the police can do something about it already. You don't need this new extra law to give them extra powers which they don't need. They can already deal with them, we've seen, as I've said before. You've seen with how they are brutal with anybody who is accused of being far right or conspiracy theorist or spreading misinformation or whatever. Those people get dealt with the full brutality of the law in a way which breaches human rights and fundamental freedoms anyway, as we've seen. So we have to be careful that this is not, this I think is as I said, been set up in order to bring this in. But the point is, it's not really to deal with those people in Extinction Rebellion. What this is to deal with future situations where there will be protests against tyrannical systems of central bank digital currency, etc., if the New World Order gets their way and implements social credit schemes, digital identity schemes, and so on, which will totally undermine all of our fundamental freedoms. There's still some left, and we need to carry on fighting for them, to keep them, and to get back to where we were before the parties in Parliament are all decided to act together to take away our fundamental freedoms and try to turn us into a slave state, which is what they're doing. So this is, the Extinction Rebellion people, now this law has gone through Parliament, they're all just going to disappear for a bit. It's winter, they're going to go away. But this will remain on the statute books for another day, for another year, to be wheeled out when the state wants to clamp down on people who are really fighting for something worth fighting for, our fundamental freedoms, the right to continue to use cash, the right to continue to trade with each other, the right to privacy, and to carry on our lives without the state interfering with every aspect of our lives and micromanaging us and telling us what we can spend, where we can go, who we can see, who we can talk to, and whether we're allowed to use social media or not. Because that's what they want to do, and that's what this is about. And you've got to look at this in the bigger picture of what's going on, not just what's in the current 24-hour, 48-hour media cycle. This is part of a bigger program of introducing the infrastructure of tyranny into our legislation. And the other thing, which I am dead against, is there was an amendment to this bill, which was absolutely horrific, that is going to criminalize prayer outside abortion centers where unborn children are killed. And in this country, every year, over 220,000 unborn children are killed in abortion centers. I would end that practice. It is the Holocaust of the late 20th and 21st century. 10 million unborn children have been killed in this country in abortion centers. That is a double Holocaust. If you don't like that, well, you can take that, and I don't care. That's what's happening. And now they are criminalizing and saying, if you just have a silent vigil or pray or even cross yourself outside a Holocaust center, or you offer help to mothers so that they don't have to go and have their baby killed, because they can offer help. And I know people in organizations that do this, and they offer homes and financial support, emotional support to mothers so they can keep their children. And they're very successful. Actually, they've helped thousands and thousands of mothers to keep their children and not go through with having their babies killed. This will be ended outside every abortion centre where babies are killed in the UK. And if you do this, even if you pray, there will be a 6-month to 2-year prison sentence for prayer in England and Wales. It beggars belief that this is happening in the UK, and it's mostly Conservative MPs that voted for this. So this public order bill, it's passed through the Commons. It's still got to go through the Lords, and the Lords might overturn aspects of it. Let's hope that they take out the worst, most draconian and tyrannical aspects of this. And they did that to some extent in the police, crime, courts and sentencing bill that went through last year, another bit of the infrastructure of tyranny. But what the government have done is that they've taken the bits the Lords took out of the PCCS bill and they've put them back in the public order bill and reintroduced it to Parliament again. So they're having another go at bringing in the most tyrannical parts of the infrastructure of tyranny that they want to bring in. And this is happening now under the Truss regime, no different to the Johnson, May, Cameron, Brown, Blair regimes that we've had before over the last 25 years. So we need a change. We need to completely row back all of these tyrannical rules that stop people from exercising their fundamental freedoms under the threat of fines or imprisonment or just being harassed by the police for years and years and years before the case is dropped. This is something that shouldn't be done, and this is something where the process is the punishment, because the police can chase someone through the courts. They know they haven't got a case. But then, by making someone's life a misery for 2 or 3 or 4 years, you might as well just stuck them in a cell anyway for what they do, because, the anxiety, the way people's lives are wrecked by these kind of things are absolutely terrible. And a friend of mine in Surrey, I won't say her name, but a friend of mine in Surrey is going through this right now. And it's absolutely horrific what is being done to her by the police force in Surrey. So we need to have a Freedom Act that will stop this state-backed tyranny and oppression from continuing, and to get it out of our statute books and return to being allowed our fundamental freedoms. And that should not be something that the government gives us grudgingly, but the government of the nation of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland should celebrate our fundamental freedoms and glory in the freedoms that our forefathers have won for us and fought for us, and there should be no question that any of them should ever be taken away from us to suit the program of the New World Order and the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization and whatever other organizations are involved in trying to subvert our nation and turn it into something where we're not free. Let's take it back. Please join us in the Heritage Party, heritageparty.org. Become a member, become a candidate, help candidates. Everything you can do for us and to join us and join in helps us in the fight for freedom. Please also, if you can, subscribe to my video and give me a thumbs up down below in the box below. Okay, thank you for listening. God bless you all.